All right, hey, Tod Barton with the Barton Real Estate Group, and today we're going to talk about the 5 things that you might not know about getting your home sold. They're 5 pretty important things. To my furthest right would be Luisa. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Luisa Avellino.
And in the middle, not quite to my furthest right, would be Alyssa.
Alyssa McArthur. Hi.
Yeah. So, hey, we're going to talk today a little more about getting your home sold and some of the questions that people have and things that we advise when we go out and meet with people about getting their home sold. And so there's really 5 things that are super important. And I'll start with the first one. Like, this is always the hardest one. This is the one that people struggle with the most. And quite honestly, it's the one that we usually talk about last. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't want to talk about this because it's hard. What do you think it is? Pricing. Yeah, pricing. Like, you know, I've never met a seller who didn't think their home was a castle, didn't think that it was the nicest house in the neighborhood, and didn't think that it was worth $20,000 or $30,000 more than it probably was worth, right? Mm-hmm. And so having the conversation about pricing is important. It's a struggle sometimes it's difficult. But reality is, whatever the market is telling us is really what a house should be priced at. And the market will tell us there's a couple factors. One is recent sales, mm-hmm. right? What is a home sold for recently in the neighborhood or within a close proximity to the property?
Comparable properties.
Yeah, call those comparables. Yeah, you'll hear agents all the time say, I'm going to pull comps. And that's really what they're doing, is they're looking at recent sales to find out what the house down the street sold for. Listen, let me be clear. It isn't what it listed for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's being sold.
What it ended up selling for.
What did it sell for? And those are always 2 different things, right? And so many times sellers run down the road and pull that flyer out of the mailbox, or they look on Zillow and they see exactly what it was listed at, and they assume once they see the moving truck parked out front, that's what it sold for.
It sold for that much.
Yeah. So depending on the market we're in, depends on whether it sells for more than that or less than that, right? I mean, we just came out of a big seller's market, and things were typically selling for more
mm-hmm.
than asking price.
Right.
So pricing's a big deal. Make sure that you're paying attention to what things have sold for. And I think another one, as we kind of get into a settled market or a little more of a buyer's market right now, I think you should really pay attention to what price a house was listed at when it went into contract. Does that make sense?
Maybe you can elaborate on that.
All right, so we don't know what it sold for until it closes, right? It's not public record until it actually closes. But
mm-hmm.
there's a period of time, 30 or 45 or 60 days from the time it goes under contract until it actually closes.
Right.
But the only thing that we know is what it was listed at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So this house went under contract when it was listed at 360. Mm-hmm. So 360 should be a number we're paying attention to. I'm not saying that's what we're listing at. I'm not saying that's where, but we know that a house just like yours went under contract at 360. We probably need to be around that number. We can't be at 400 if the houses are going under contract at 360. Right. Now maybe it closes at 370. We don't know. Maybe it closes at 350. We don't know. But what we do know is 360 caused someone to write an offer that was acceptable to the seller. Right. So pricing's a big deal. That's number 1 for me.
Totally.
So number 2 would be professional photos. We've actually touched base on this in another video that we've posted, but getting good photos of your home is very important. You don't want photos with just a mobile phone to be taken. They never come out quite as good.
I have a 13 though. It's the best.
It doesn't matter.
This camera is the best.
Yeah.
Are you serious? I can't use this?
No. It may be easier, but if you want your if you want your home to sell, you should not be using mobile phones. Get a professional photographer to get your home photographed.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I believe, and statistics show that about over 70% of everybody who buys a home, guess where their search starts? Where do they start looking first?
The internet.
Yeah, on the internet.
Mm-hmm. And now that the MLS give us the opportunity to post almost 90 pictures,
yeah, so many.
And then people like to look around, so make sure that that you select the best and the good pictures, that you have a good photographer for it. That's the key.
Yeah. So if I'm going to get someone to look at a property, they have to be interested from day one. And if there aren't good pictures, they're less likely to be, especially again, as we get into a more settled market right now, it's going to become much more important to make sure that we've got pictures that are mind-blowing.
Right.
Like that picture of the bathroom with the toilet seat up.
Instant turn off.
You don't like that?
Especially whenever it's angled and the lines are not quite
straight.
right.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good at all.
I guess we all have our pet peeves, right?
Yeah.
So we did do a video on that recently, right?
We did.
About professional photography. So we'll post that, and you guys can go check that out. But I think it's hugely important. So yeah. So pricing's number 1. Number 2, professional photos. What's number 3? What do you think?
I would say number 3 is the curb appeal of your home. And this come together with your pictures. So it depends on how clean you have your home, how, the clutter that you have in your home, and start decluttering your garage, your room, so you're motivated already to sell. Then, start cleaning. Start making sure that, get rid of stuff that you don't use.
I think that's a huge thing is I think what people don't understand when they sell their house is you don't live in your house the same way you do when you're selling as you do when you're living. And so when you've decided to sell and you're committed to it and you're motivated to sell, you can make some changes.
Right.
I mean, you can take some of that stuff off the kitchen counter, and you can, maybe take some stuff out of your closets. I always tell people, start boxing things up. The one thing that doesn't turn off a buyer are boxes. Because,
if anything, it makes them more motivated.
Yeah, because they know you're moving,
Yeah.
right? They know you're ready to go. What turns them off is, seeing this mess in the corner that looks like there's, something under it. We don't know what's under it, so be careful what's under the mess. But, yeah, cleaning up, decluttering, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Making it less personal to you and more, just less personal in general. You want it to fit to whatever buyer comes along.
Yeah, so you got to take down anything religious. I mean, no offense, but I'm a God-fearing man, but you've got to take down the religious things because the next buyer that walks through the door might not believe the way you believe, and so you don't want to cause that problem. You're going to take down all your family pictures, right? Because you're going to depersonalize the property for sure. One thing that we didn't talk about, or we've talked about quite a bit, is one of the 5 senses that's the most important. What is it?
Smell.
Yeah, smell, right?
Definitely.
I mean, somebody walks in your house and it smells bad.
Forget about it. They're going to have that memory forever.
It's an instant turnoff. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be the topic of conversation at the next family get together. Remember that house that we looked at that smelled like cat pee?
Right.
Or whatever, the garlic or whatever, right? So again, you don't necessarily live in your house the same way when you're selling it as you do when you're living there. And so I even tell people, hey, be careful what you cook because that can leave a standing odor in the house. And I think odor is huge. And by the way, there are some things that we can share with you and help you how to get rid of that stuff very inexpensively, but that smell has to change sometimes.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's 3. So pricing, making sure that you've got professional photos, curb appeal and cleanliness of the inside of the house. And then the next one for me is staging, right? I mean, I don't know how many houses I walk into where you walk into the front door and you walk right into the back of this 7-foot long sofa and you've literally got, it just makes the house look smaller. And so there's just a lot of stuff that you can do staging wise. Quite honestly, so many people love to just jam-pack their house with furniture, right? Like every square foot of the house got furniture in it.
Makes it look smaller.
Yeah.
Way smaller.
What do they do with it?
What do you mean, what do they do with
Get rid of it. Get it out of the house. Store it somewhere. We're done with that stuff. Might not fit in your next house
Sell
anyway.
it? Yeah,
Sell
it.
it.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I think if we stage the house, by the way, one of the things that the Barton Real Estate Group offers is we have a professional interior designer. She's not a decorator, and if you call her that, she'll cut your throat, but she's an interior designer, and we'll send her to your property for free, and she'll be there for about an hour looking around, and she'll do a little report to tell you exactly what are some of the things that you should do to make your home look bigger. By the way, your competition is the new homes. So if you want to see what your house should look like, go look at some new homes and you'll see what your house should look like. And she'll give you some advice on how to get it there. Well, I'll just give one of the biggest tip that she gave me one time, really literally blew my mind, was take all the empty hangers out of your closet. And I was like, why does that matter? And she's like, well, because if you take all the empty hangers out and you can spread your clothes out a little bit, just makes the closet look much bigger. And I was like, yeah, pretty smart lady.
Sense.
Give it more of a neat look too.
Right. I have it in one space, all the empty ones.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, put them in a box, put them in the garage.
Right.
Yeah.
Get rid of them. I mean,
It's
unless you plan on
one part of
going
my
clothes shopping.
closet
Yeah.
where I have all the empty ones. So if I need more, then they're there. So.
Yeah, I do. I tend to do the same thing, but I understand the whole removing the hangers and spacing the clothes out because it gives it more of an attraction.
Totally.
Yeah, just makes it a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and number 5, probably one of the harder ones to understand for a lot of people, but I think you got to make sure you've got a good real estate agent. Not talking anything negative about other real estate agents. I think when we talk about having a good real estate agent, what does that mean, and what are some of the qualities of a good real estate agent? What do they need to be able to do?
They need to be able to get all these 5 things that we're talking about all together, because it's basically a teamwork. So the real estate agent, when do your consultation for when you're ready and motivated to sell your home, we're going to recommend the professional pictures. We're going to recommend the cluttering.
Well, professional pictures, if you hire the Barton Real Estate Group, we're going to pay for professionals.
Right.
We only hire professionals. And again, we'll put a video that you can watch about that.
Right.
So what else? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. We're going to, give them advices of, how to declutter. We also have vendors who will be able to clean their house if they, we recommend some people as well. So it's just a team that we'll put together for them.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of things that have to get done, and make sure that they have the ability to get it all done, right?
Right.
I think when I do consults with sellers on selling their home, and I ask them, what's the most important thing for you during this process, they always say, I want good communication.
Right.
Like I want communication, and I think we can really pride ourselves on our communication, and we probably over communicate. I've had several clients tell me to tone down the communication because we're sending texts and emails and phone calls, and sometimes it gets overwhelming because it is an overwhelming process selling your house.
And on the other side of that, people love the communication because it gives them one less thing to worry about. They know they're being taken care of, so they don't need to worry, is this guy working for me? He's not communicating with me. Whenever you get the daily updates or weekly updates, people really do appreciate that. Most of them. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. So again, I think the biggest thing when you're interviewing agents for the job of selling your home, make sure they have a plan. Make sure they have a plan on how they're going to market your property. What does that process look like? Make sure they can articulate that to you, because if they can't articulate that to you, they don't have a plan, right? They're just kind of shooting from the hip, hoping they can get it sold. So, anything else?
If you have a plan, you don't have a plan to fail.
There you go.
Yep. There you go. All right. Hey, thanks for watching.
Thank you.